Bugeye guys, and today we're working on tube shock conversions for lever shocks. Now, if you're unfamiliar, this is the front shock absorber on a Sprite, and it's a single arm setup where the upper control arm is this link that's damped by this gizmo that has pistons inside here, and it's a shock absorber. So if I had two hands, I could flex this and there'd be damping going on. But the problem with these is that here, I'll show you on a car over here. This is a project that we're putting together. Here's the two lever shocks in their proper locations, where this is that upper link. And of course, when the car is on the ground, these become more horizontal and the damping goes on inside that shock. Now, the problem with these is that they are a single arm, right? There's nothing supporting it. It's not a Y shape. It's just one arm on one side. So you have a lot of force on this entire assembly. And the lever shock design, while it's nice and quaint, it's not necessarily up to modern performance standards. It's fine if you're just knocking around the neighborhood, but as you ask more and more of your Sprite, which is what we're doing all the time, the lever shock isn't always up to the job. Plus, they are never mated in exact pairs, and if you drive hundreds of these as we have, you start to see that when you have a weak shock on one side, you can feel it on bumps on the left, for argument's sake, but it's different on the right. So the damping characteristics are inconsistent, and they are leaking like crazy. A lot of times, even before we take them out of the package, when we get them from our rebuilders, they will be leaking, and that's just unacceptable. It's very, very hard. These things are getting older and older every season, more and more cycles. So the rebuilding is not always what we would like. We do the best we can. We get the best ones that we can. But ultimately, my favorite thing to do is this, which is to change to a tube shock conversion. And the reason for this is that these will last, I don't know, forever, for argument's sake. And this thing, sometimes they only last a few years before you have to change them. So if you want to invest in this, you're basically saving yourself the hassle of ever doing lever shocks in the front again. The other really nice thing about this kit that we use is that it's got an adjustable damper here, so you can tune it how you want. A lot of the tube shock kits are only one setting, and they're too stiff, so you lose the comfort. So our objective with this whole thing is comfort plus performance, and you get more comfort with these and more performance and comfort with these. So I like this a lot. You also have a whole new mounting system. So this becomes the upper link, and it's obviously a through bolt here. So it's much more supported than just this single arm setup on a lever shock. And one more advantage that you get is you get a little bit more negative camber with these, so that you get better handling, better performance yet again. So all of those reasons give us this opportunity to take this wonderful car and make it into a tube shock conversion. So here we have the original lever shock. They were uneven. I didn't like the bump performance on this car. The client said, go ahead and put the tube shock conversion in, and that's what we're doing. So this is the before side. And over here, it's not quite finished, but this is the after side. So here's that upper link, the new upper link with the through bolt, as I showed you. And the tube shock isn't mounted on there yet, but it will be mounted on the back from that post there. And then there's an upper link here for the tube shock. And just if you're wanting to invest in this, you do have to make a couple modifications. This is the brake line has to go through this hole. Normally the brake line goes this way through this tab on the top of your frog eye, but you have to drill an extra hole here, feed the brake line through that hole, and then you need to reflare. This brake line comes off of the union here where the brake light switches, and you have to replumb it so that it goes through that hole, or the line comes through the hole, but that it unites with the flexible line through that hole. So that's one modification. And the other modification that you need to make is that this is 4 holes supporting this plate. I'll show you over on the bench. This piece that mounts where the lever shock was requires one extra hole drilled. So here's the 3 holes, and here's the 4th hole to mount this onto the car. And here again is the top link, and then the bottom link mounts on the sway bar, the front sway bar hole. You notice that 3-hole pattern matches the sway bar, and on the back of the control arm as well. So that's basically what you need to know to put this in. One last thing, if you don't have control arms, you see the bolts on the back there, you need to have control arms with holes on the back. If you don't, you'll either need to change your control arms or drill those holes. There's the front mount for the sway bar. That's also going to get utilized when that lower bracket that I just showed you on the bench goes on the car. So that's how we do a tube shock conversion on these cars. And that's what we have this week here from Bugeye Guys. You'll find all these parts in our parts catalog, or feel free to call us anytime and we'll help you make your Sprite a better performing machine.